Coming up on this episode, when you heard Jack Webb's voice, you knew he was no one to mess with. He was the voice of authority, and he meant business.
Let me tell you, young fella, I don't know what's bothering you, but whatever it is, we're going to find it out and get it through your head. You're in a bad spot. If you're not interested in helping yourself, then neither am I. Now, the monkey's on your back. You're going to have to help scratch it off. Now, get with it. What's it all about?
Welcome to a nostalgia edition of I Did Not Know That. Please like and subscribe.
Please stop saying don't forget to like and subscribe.
Sure, but how are we going to get followers?
It was nearing the end of 1982, and Jack Webb is excited. He'd not only decided to bring back his legendary cop show Dragnet, but he'd already written 5 episodes for the revived series. Unfortunately, his old partner Bill Gannon, played by Harry Morgan, was committed to MASH and its spin-off show, so he needed a new partner. He decided on Kent McCord, who would be perfect. He'd already worked with and directed McCord in a few Dragnet episodes and Adam 12, another series he'd co-created. He'd celebrate Christmas and then reboot the Dragnet TV series for the 3rd time in 1983. But sadly, you've never seen an episode of that show. Nor will you ever. If you grew up during television's golden age, or the years after that, when you heard Jack Webb's voice, you knew he was no one to mess with. He was the voice of authority, and he meant business.
Let me tell you, young fella, I don't know what's bothering you, but whatever it is, we're going to find it out and get it through your head. You're in a bad spot. If you're not interested in helping yourself, then neither am I. Now, the monkey's on your back. You're going to have to help scratch it off. Now, get with it. What's it all about?
Webb portrayed perhaps the most famous TV cop ever. He played the legendary Sergeant Joe Friday. The opening statement at the start of each show by the announcer also became a part of the culture.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Joe Friday and the distinct way that he spoke was parodied by Webb himself when he went on The Tonight Show, and he and Johnny Carson did an unforgettable bit that, to this day, people remember.
Why do you think Cleveland's Claude Cooper would cop your clean copper clappers kept in your closet?
Only one reason.
What's that?
He's a kleptomaniac.
What many might not know is that Webb and Dragnet actually started out as a very successful radio show. It was created by Webb, and it ran from 1949 to 1957.
Both Ben and I knew where we were heading. We'd recognized the address. It was the Trapdoor Cafe, a joint in the south end of town that did business with a pretty rough crowd. 13 minutes later, we pulled up in front.
When it moved to television, Webb felt that he wasn't really an actor and decided that he'd prefer just to direct the show. He told the executives that he wasn't right for the role, and he suggested that actor Lloyd Nolan take over the role of Joe Friday when it was moved to television. But NBC and the show's sponsor, Chesterfield Cigarettes, insisted that Webb keep on portraying Joe Friday or there would be no Dragnet TV show. So Webb gave in. The first Dragnet TV series ran from 1951 to 59, and all you need to do is do some searching on YouTube if you want to find it, and then you'll come across a lot of actors appearing on the program as guest stars who later became very well known across America.
28 sticks of dynamite in Connie's apartment.
Yes, ma'am. Now, about this man, Stanford.
Oh, Tom. Oh, yes, he's a good gardener. Oh, he does such a good job on the place. You should walk around the grounds. Oh.
Ever use the name Henry Carter? Of course not. Ross, that's the only name I go by. You never had your name changed? No. Never used an alias? I told you no.
The TV show was a huge success and opened many doors for Webb. Despite the network and sponsors wanting the series to continue, Webb told them he was leaving the show after the 1959 season, and he did. He wanted to direct. But he must have missed his old TV show because in 1966 he directed and he starred in a made-for-TV film version of Dragnet. When the network screened the unaired film, they loved it so much that they begged him to revive the series. So Webb decided again to return to the Dragnet TV series in 1967. Oddly enough, that 1966 film sat in a can until 1969 when it was finally aired. Much as he'd done in the 1950s series, by the 4th season, Webb said he'd had enough, and he walked away from the show again. And Dragnet was canceled. Aside from Dragnet, he created the TV show Emergency and co-created Adam 12. By 1982, Webb evidently was bitten by the Dragnet bug again and was in the process of putting the show back together. Webb grew up in poverty, and he was a driven man. He was a workaholic, and he lived hard and he worked hard. He was married 4 times and was a very heavy smoker. And he reportedly smoked 3 packs a day. Sadly, on December 23rd, just 2 days before Christmas, Webb suffered a fatal heart attack. He was only 62. His 1982 series with McCord was never made. But Dragnet was revived again in 1989 without Webb, and it was called The New Dragnet. That lasted a few years. I have zero recollection of that program, but maybe some of you watched it. In 2003, it was tried again, this time with Ed O'Neill as Joe Friday. I remember the ads, but I never saw it. I have to admit, I did enjoy Dan Aykroyd's portrayal of Joe Friday's nephew back in 1987. His impersonation was spot on, and he was hilarious, as only Aykroyd can do.
My partner and I witnessed that little torchlight picnic you threw last night, and we're going to put you where your kind always ends up. In a 7-by-7-foot gray-green metal cage on the 15th floor of some 100-year-old penitentiary with damn stinking walls and a wooden plank for a bed.
He nailed it. While I remember the storyline kind of getting bizarre and falling apart at the end, it was fun to see Aykroyd give tribute to Webb and the series. And Harry Morgan, Joe Friday's old partner, popped in. That was great, too. I wonder if the actor who played Friday's partner ever had any success after this. Would you have watched Dragnet in 1983 if Jack Webb had lived? I'm sure I would have at least tried it. But the TV and the cop show genre had changed quite a bit since the 60s. I have to admit I was a big Starsky and Hutch fan back in the 70s. Would Webb have been able to replicate the past successes he had 3 times before? Let me know what you think. Hey, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again soon.
Blah, blah, blah.